The Griffin Dorsey Show. Ben Olsen Masterclass. Meltdown in Miami. Houston defeats Miami in the U.S. Open Cup Final 2-1 to lift their second U.S. Open Cup in their history. And all Messi can do is watch from the sidelines.
Yeah, the GOAT was not able to come out and play in tonight's game, and Houston took full advantage of that, especially in the first half, essentially winning it then, going up 2-0 and almost making it 3 through Carrasquilla. It was a perfect half from Houston, and congratulations to ultimately beating Inter Miami in Miami, by the way.
Massive.
A hell of a win for Ben Olsen, for the Houston Dynamo, their first piece of silverware since 2018 when they last won it, as you just mentioned. But yeah, what an interesting game, brother. What a really interesting game. I think the biggest point, though, was, no Lionel Messi.
Has to be.
And the thing is, for Houston, imagine hearing that, an hour before the game. Messi's not even on the bench, boys.
Wow.
Imagine that. The boost of confidence in your self-esteem of, oh, thank God. Now we just have to play against, an averagely good Inter Miami side who are, good without Messi, but no Messi, no Jordi Alba.
Yeah.
Our job got a lot easier. And I think they took all of that confidence, all of that positive energy, and, they had a perfect first half. Miami were not there. No. It gave me huge shades of Cruz Azul, Inter Miami, the very first Leagues Cup game where Messi wasn't present in the first half, and Cruz Azul, should have been up 2-0 just like Houston were in that first half. But the difference was no Messi in the second half because he was injured.
Yeah, injury keeps the GOAT from his farm. He was unable to attend, had to stay back in the stable, had to stay back in the barnyard to be able to recover. A weird injury he's going through right now that I thought he would be able to recover from by the time this final arrived.
I know.
But ultimately, he just couldn't. He couldn't. Despite there being legends in the stands such as Zinedine Zidane, who came down to, I assume, watch Messi. Otherwise, why else is he fucking here? David Beckham in the stands as well. And you could even throw in James Harden, who was there to celebrate his Houston Dynamo victory as co-owner of the team. Seeing them lift a trophy. I mean, if you're a Houston Dynamo fan, what a storybook ending to this dominant U.S. Open Cup run that you've had so far this year.
Yeah, prior to this game, outscoring opponents 14-2.
Yes.
Absolute domination in this tournament for Houston.
Yes.
Pretty insane.
To close that journey out, you saw James Harden wearing his chains, hanging out with his boys, celebrating every single goal. And Houston overall celebrating a trophy, their first trophy in 5 years, no? Since their last U.S. Open Cup victory. I think it's an amazing thing. Texas football is on the rise.
Low-key.
And we saw it today as they just showed out against this ultimately lifeless Miami team that really needed that resurgence of Messi in a cup final.
That's what's really frustrating about Inter Miami is even when they do have Messi out on the pitch, there are times and small spells throughout a match where they just look kind of out of it. Lost, maybe uninterested, if I want to use that word too, because that whole first half was honestly just terrible.
It was awful. It was awful.
They couldn't get the ball, and when they did, they were super sloppy with it. I was very disappointed, honestly, in Miami because y'all are at home with a chance to win y'all's second trophy within like a month's time span. Like, that's nuts. And even without Messi, it was still there to be taken because Houston themselves aren't having the perfect season either. So it's like I was very, very disappointed with Miami's first half performance. But on the other hand, you had Dorsey just flying down that right wing, and then left winger Nelson Quiñones just free-flowing out on the left side. Really upset the goal that he got ended up being offside because it was brilliantly shot, beautifully crafted from Carrasquilla in the middle. And then Carrasquilla himself, man, dude. I've really noticed this year kind of just a change in his pace and his playing style. He's so much more focused on maximizing his own flair.
Yeah.
And I love it. First saw it with Panama this summer, and he's just done nothing but continued that, bro.
It's
like
a great run.
It's pretty crazy. Like, when he gets the ball, he's prioritizing like how he feels. Like, he's trying to maximize his vibe on the ball. And honestly, I love it. Sometimes it's a little too much. Sometimes, he does a little too many step overs, like an unnecessary back heel. But the thing is, I think for a team like Houston, I say go for it. Like, the more the merrier. If I'm Ben Olsen, I'm telling Carrasquilla, do whatever you want on the ball because I think it's only going to help us move it quicker, combine with Bassi, and I just absolutely love what Carrasquilla is doing this year, man.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to, at some point make a move to a bigger club. if he ever does, he has this to add to his legacy now, bringing Houston a trophy. The streets of Houston are now being filled with fans to celebrate this massive victory. Oh, no, I'm just really happy, man. I'm really happy to see them go into Miami and pull out this result with such really strong talent up front that carried them to almost scoring 3 goals, got 2 goals in this match. And Miami almost getting back into the game at the very end through a Joseph Martinez goal, but it was way too late for anything to happen, bro. 91st minute, they had 5 more minutes to try to get back into the match, and try they did, ultimately just not being able to craft up another goal scoring opportunity, and they fall short, losing 2-1. How do you think Messi feels watching this? I was curious about just his emotional state. I pointed out he looked a little tired when I saw him on the screen. You know, it might be really late in Miami. He just wanted to hang out back at home with his family. But overall, do you think he really cares about this game?
Cares? There's no way, because he hasn't even played in it, you know? But I think he would care, though, because there was a trophy on the line. That for sure would tell me that I'm sure he was pretty bummed to not play tonight, bro. But that's the scary thing, man, is that, you know, you said earlier, kind of surprised he didn't get past this knock that he picked up with Argentina a couple weeks ago. So I'm pretty surprised that he didn't heal from it, because it was just supposedly kind of like a little knock. Maybe it's a little more, and I don't know. It just gets a little scary, because what if this just keeps happening a little bit more and more?
Careful now.
Maybe you gotta. What I'm kind of getting at is, I think Martino, Argentina, and Messi himself, I think, need to make sure that they're maximizing like his health.
True.
I think more than anything else. Maybe because, dude, the Lee's Cup run was insane.
Insane.
It was ridiculous, and I think that's why he got injured when he was on duty with Argentina. It was just ultimately too much at his age. But I think if he just plays like 1 game a week, I think he'll be fine for the next couple of years. But doing double duty on a weekly basis like he kind of was doing for the Leagues Cup, I think it already shows that it will take its toll.
I agree. I think also a takeaway I had is if you're part of the Messi army, you're throwing chairs all over your room right now. Because when you think about this specific trophy that he could contend for and ultimately lift, comparing it to all other trophies he's achieved in his career, you know, there's been trophies where they said, Messi had an easy path, right? But there's not many you can say that for, because the Leagues Cup, for example, he had to play 7, 8 games, 90 full minutes, performing at his absolute best and putting up crazy numbers. Even with PSG, if he wanted to win in the Champions League, he had to go through, you know, a rigorous Champions League campaign to win. And even when he did lift the Ligue 1, he still had to play a lot of games and put up a really good performance in France. But with this one, bro, if you're a Messi fan to the point where you're part of his army, this was a chance to essentially cheat your way to another trophy, bro.
This was a freebie.
This is a freebie,
and
man.
That's why I think Messi was bummed that he couldn't play, because Houston's beatable. They're good, but with Messi on the pitch, they're very, very beatable.
Exactly, bro.
100% agree.
Dude, all he ended up doing was playing 1 game against FC Cincinnati in the semifinal. That was it in terms of his impact with Inter Miami in this specific tournament, and he would have had the shot to lift up his 2nd trophy with them in the past 2-3 months right off of his debut, and to just add to that allure, you know, add that to, no one's going to remember they didn't play in this tournament. They're going to remember the trophy. They're going to remember the photos of him lifting it up and possibly having an impact in this final game. But we were robbed of that, bro. We were robbed of that. And if you're a Messi Army fan, you're throwing chairs, you're just pissed off right now, because this could have helped you a lot in your overall worshiping of Messi. So with both these teams being in the final, Inter Miami and Houston Dynamo, it's crazy how they, you know, met eye to eye today. But yet in the MLS, in the league, they're in just completely contrasting situations at this moment, with Inter Miami needing to win out to even have a chance at making the playoffs, and Houston over in the Western Conference in 4th place, basically already solidifying their playoff spot. Let's actually start with Houston here. How do you project them performing for the rest of the season? Because if we remember throughout the Leagues Cup, I remember a bit of a smaller take you had is that you don't really rate many Western Conference teams this year. Does Houston fall in that category? Do you see them being able to do something, given that they are now U.S. Open Cup champions, but also had a really weird Leagues Cup performance where they ended up losing out to Charlotte FC after conceding 2 goals in like 50 seconds? Which Houston side are you going with here?
First off, I do want to say it's good to see Houston back in playoff contention, back winning titles. I remember in 2018, I was a big fan of Houston at the time because they were playing really good football. Went to the playoffs the year prior, was in a nail bar with Seattle Sounders, and I actually caught all of those playoff games in Houston. It was awesome. Romel Kyoto, Albert Ellis, Mauro Manotas. That team was so fun, man. So it's really good to see Houston once again playing really, really good football. Thing is, though, I just think there's a lot better teams in the MLS. So even though Houston are in 4th right now in the Western Conference, I think for them that's great. But in the broader scope of things, I think they're nothing more than just a very good but feisty team, and that's about it. I don't really see them as truly threatening or, you know, not even really getting to a conference final, I'll be completely honest. They have really good players. I think they lack in certain areas, whereas, you know, for example, teams like Nashville or New England, teams like Cincinnati really, really thrive in. So
if you look at the Supporters Shield standings, they're in 11th. So it kind of shows the difference between the weakness of the Western Conference right now and how that 4th place position could be a little misleading overall. There's 10 teams better than them right now in the MLS, and I only see like the top 4, top 5 being able to actually lift the trophy this year. So we'll see. I think they're still a fun team to keep an eye on given the talent on this team. And Carrasquilla, bro, if he ends up going to a 3rd final in this year, it's like a bootleg Ballon d'Or type of year for him, bro. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Panama, Houston Dynamo US Open Cup final, and if you can get to the MLS Cup final, it'd be ridiculous. And on the other side, Inter Miami, trying to get to this playoff position so they can get Messi an opportunity to enter the playoffs and lead them to a MLS Cup final appearance. Is any of this possible, bro? Should people be buying into the idea of Inter Miami potentially making it? Or should we all just put our hopes in some other team that actually deserves it, man? Because the more I watch this team without Messi, the more I see that there's some issues and there's some problems, and I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome that in the race to getting into that playoff position.
Yeah, they're going to have to win all of the remaining games. The thing is, it is doable, especially if you hope and can consider that the teams around them will also drop points. It is possible, especially if Messi is healthy. That's going to be obviously the key. And I don't mean like, oh, he comes on for 20, 30 minutes. I'm talking like he's fully fit. He can start and finish a match, win the game, go home and rest, and do it again the next week.
Yep.
If that can happen, I can see Inter Miami getting very close to a playoff spot, especially, dude, since the MLS lets in fucking everybody in the playoffs, man. So Miami actually have a decent chance, but the stipulations are a little narrow here because it solely relies on Messi's fitness. Solely.
Okay. All right, so to close out both these teams, let's make our final predictions for how we see their seasons panning out. Houston Dynamo, I have them exiting in the quarterfinals. And Inter Miami, I don't see them making playoffs, bro. I don't. I think even with Messi, I think there's going to be a surprise results here. Something will catch up to them. I think that luck that they had to start off the Leagues Cup campaign ran its course, and it was beautiful to see. But we're slowly going to see the downfall of Inter Miami just until the end of the season. Once the new season starts back up, it's a whole new team. And I could even see them contend for a MLS Cup next year. But right now, I just don't see them making playoffs.
Yeah, the point gap is like just in that region where even if they lose just one game, they still might not make it if the other teams above them, you know, get the points that they need. So, yeah, I think statistically Miami's not going to make it, but I'm still going to bank on the idea that if Messi is healthy, fully fit, I think they'll squeeze into the playoffs. So that's my prediction for Miami. Awesome. For Houston, yeah, I say quarterfinals, so conference semifinals appearance for them. If they can make it to a conference final, I think it'll solely be on their opponents that they end up drawing. If they can get a favorable path, I think Houston actually have the talent to beat, you know, a decent amount of teams in the MLS. And again, they're feisty enough to beat teams that are just above them in competition. So I'm not counting this Houston team out completely, but yeah, I just don't think they're going to go anywhere near a final.